Hi, Mentone Church family. I'm Sandy DeSena. Some of you may know that our family did missionary work in Brazil for about 13 years, and we founded a school. And the kids and I moved back a couple of years ago, and my husband is still running our school in Brazil while he's waiting for the immigration papers to come through. It's been a really long process. But I'm appealing to you today because we have been having a lot of difficulty with the school in Brazil since the coronavirus. We're having a lot of financial difficulty and in a very precarious position right now. So I invite you to watch the PowerPoint, and if you feel so moved, we would really appreciate definitely your prayers, and if you can help financially, we would be very blessed. Thank you.
Welcome to Noah's Ark Christian School. We founded Noah's Ark Christian School over 12 years ago with the desire to provide preschool and elementary age children of the small town of Rio Preto da Eva with an excellent education and to teach them about Jesus. It has been a light to the community, yet makes just enough to pay for itself with little left over. Our students love their school and they learn about Jesus every day. Then came coronavirus and everything changed. Lockdown came and our classrooms were empty. Many parents were unable to work. So Aloisio negotiated reduction of tuition with many of our families, but sadly only a few were able to honor their commitment. Even some of our wealthier families were afraid of the future and did not want to pay their tuition, but save it just in case. The cost of living started to increase. Food and supplies, their costs went up, and also electricity costs began to skyrocket. So the Ark went virtual. Noah's Ark was the first school in Rio Preto to go virtual with their classes, and we did so for a few months. During this time, a few students dropped out due to the lack of internet in their homes, and this also resulted in less income. As they started to prepare to reopen, this is a picture of Aloisio who came with the health department the health department came to visit the school and just give it authorization to go ahead and reopen with a lot of requirements in place, which actually was quite expensive. So it was back to school, but there was a different arc. Children and teachers needed to wear masks. Temperatures had to be taken at the door, shoes sprayed with sanitizer. Everybody had to have their own hand sanitizer and constantly be using it. And our teachers had to wear gowns and caps and masks and goggles and just everything. Meanwhile, I want to take a little side note and tell you a little bit about one of our teachers. He's here on the left. His name is Andre. Andre has taught for us for a few years. And when we first hired him, we were a little bit cautious because he was really one of the first teachers that we had hired that was not Adventist. However, he was very active in his church and he had an excellent reputation as a teacher in our town. So after praying about it, we decided to hire him. And we noticed that when Aloisio would be teaching the religion class in his classroom, he would be taking notes and paying careful attention. And he told him that he would go home and share the information with his family, that he was really intrigued by what he was learning. And a couple of years later, he ended up being baptized, and now he and his family are active members of our church. So back to our story, social distancing continued, and even though everybody was delighted that the Ark could open again, we actually had many parents that were afraid to send their children, and so we only had a few students attending. In fact, sometimes there would only be one student in a classroom, and of course, we still had to pay electricity and other costs just as if it was a full school. So costs continued to go up, and bills started to increase while our income was decreasing. The economy became quite depressed in our town. Normally, we would only have about 20% of our families that were delinquent or late in paying tuition. At this point, it's now at about 65% who are not paying. Like I said, many parents can't or even won't pay tuition. We were not able to pay the teachers for their work in August. Payday just came and went, and we even had to lay off 3 employees that were not absolutely necessary to the school, which are the cook and the janitor and the English teacher, and others had to take salary reductions. Aloysius has been doing the best that he could to try to make ends meet during this difficult time. He's only working with about 35% of the regular income, and usually we have barely not much left over after paying the bills. So it's been very difficult. In fact, it was so difficult that he ended up not paying electricity bills so that he could pay his teachers the last couple of months. But at this point, the electricity has been cut off, and the students have returned back to their homes and are continuing with virtual learning. And the office is the only part of the school open, and it's running on a generator. The teachers have continued to teach the students virtually, even though they're not being paid. They're very dedicated. And this is a little video clip of them making an appeal to the parents, asking them to help because they themselves have their own compromises. They need to put food on their tables. She's asking them to just to help to fulfill their obligations for those who can, because they have their own obligations to fulfill, and they've been doing their part by teaching their children. Would you consider helping the ARC stay afloat? Right now, the most urgent need is about $1,500 to cover last month's overdue bills and to pay the teachers' overdue salaries and the secretary. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. Most likely, this month, September, will probably be about the same, I'm guessing. So we may need more assistance then as well. So please, if you're able to, we would be very blessed by any financial donations, and please keep the ARC in your prayers.